Okay, so over the weekend, I just watched Bong Joon-ho's next film, Mickey 17. So let's talk about it. So Mickey 17 is centered around the character of Mickey, who is part of a colonization group who are traveling to another planet, where his job is basically an expendable, which means he's basically a lab rat, and every time he passes away, he gets cloned and copied into a new person. But surprise, they accidentally forget to check that the previous Mickey had passed away, and unfortunately, there's two Robert Pattinsons running around. Now, when coming into this movie, there's going to be two ways you're either going to love or hate this movie. You're going to either love this movie because it's a dark comedy set in a sci fi universe, or you're going to hate it because it's a satire set in a sci fi universe. And for me, I enjoyed this movie as a dark comedy set in a sci fi universe. First, I really enjoyed Robert Pattinson in this role. Like, he's definitely come a long way from his Twilight days and escaped that typecasting and has gone on to do other roles, which pretty much pique his interest, like Mickey 17. And what I enjoyed about Robert Pattinson's performance in this is that with that clone dynamic in this movie, I really love that each individual clone does feel like a different personality or a different person that you're seeing. So he's really tackling dual roles in this film, especially when you come across Mickey 17, who is the main clone that we follow through this movie. And that's the thing, when you come across the clone dynamic between Mickey 17 and Mickey 18, like you do get that themes of each clone is going to be different. Like, I mean, one's probably a bit more psychotic than the other, or one has different intentions than the other, which is an element that you haven't really seen in a lot of clone movies in a while. So that clone dynamic of these two characters, I really enjoyed. As for the other characters involved in this movie, now it's going to be like either you're going to love it or hate it performances. Like, perfect example is Mark Ruffalo and Tony Collette's characters. Like, they are just so over the top. But to me, I just found it as more of like a satire on like a lot of politicians, especially on a certain one that's currently the US president at the moment. But I just love that dynamic of like just seeing how ridiculous our politicians can be, especially as well when some of them can be kind of stupid. And that's the thing too, because of these performances, it's either going to be like this is just so ridiculous and over the top that you enjoy it, or it's just going to feel a bit too familiar or too real to you that you're just going to end up hating it. So it just goes either way depending on how you view these type of characters in this movie. Now, out of Bong Joon-ho's films, like while this movie isn't necessarily a Snowpiercer or a Parasite, this movie was a decent watch, and I really enjoy the aspects of the satire and dark comedy that is mixed into this movie. I do love that it's already an established sci-fi world, although there can be some room of improvements. Like, for example, when it comes to explaining the story, there was a little bit of over-explaining in the narration, but I feel like that's just a minor complaint for me. But I thoroughly enjoyed this movie for what it was, and for this movie, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I felt like I had a good time watching this movie.